Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a part 2 of our goal prediction model. So in first part, we built and trained our model. We also performed some predictions and then we analyzed our performance metrics for our model. And so now our next step is going to be how we can deploy this model on AWS SageMaker. So when we deploy this on AWS SageMaker actually helps us to automate lots of deployment steps, and it makes the deployment part really easy. So without wasting any time, let's get started to it. So as you can see here, we have the code that we used in our first part. So I'm just going to make one change here. I will just save the model here using joblib.dump. So you have to basically import the joblib library over here, and then you can save the trained model in this joblib file, and you can name it whatever you want. I have named it right now model.joblib. So as you can see here, I have the model.joblib saved over here. So now our next steps are going to be how we can deploy this model on AWS SageMaker. Okay, so the first step was to save the trained model, and now we are moving ahead with the second step now. Okay, so if I open the AWS here, so very first thing that you need to do is to create the S3 bucket. Okay, so it will load. And as you can see here, I have created the gold price model bucket. So you have to create the bucket over here, and inference.py and then .tar file, you do not have to worry about it as of now. You just have to go and upload the model.joblib file using this upload. Okay, so we have generated the model.joblib file over here, right? So you will just go to the SageMaker, you will just go to AWS, and then you can upload this .joblib file in this S3 bucket, and that's it. You will also have to choose the gateway over here. So you can just choose the gateway, the nearest gateway that is available to you. So as you can see here, I have chosen Canada Central, but you can choose whatever gateway is available to you. Okay, so the next step is going to be you will have to create the IAM roles. Okay, so when you will initially create the account on AWS, it will just create in credentials with a root account, but we will need to create the role now with a specific permission for our SageMaker access and for S3 bucket access. So I'll show you here. So when you open the S3, you will type in S3 here. Sorry, you will type IAM here, and then you'll have to go roles. So once you go to the roles, as you can see, I have created the role here using SageMaker access. So you will have to add all the necessary permissions that will be required. So just make sure you always add the EC2 container permissions using this. So when you do the add permissions, and then you will do the attach policies, you will be able to see all the available permissions to you. So as of now, we just need EC2 container, and then we need the SageMaker full access. Okay, so let me go back here, and then I will also create my one customized policy over here, because we also need to create the right permissions for the bucket that we just created. Okay, because we need to create the .tar file and inference.py file within that bucket. So for that, we need to create the right permission for our bucket. So I'll go to the test policy over here. Okay, it will load and it will take some time to load. As you can see, you will have to add your custom code over here. So as you can see, I have added the name of my bucket. So inside the resource, you'll have to add the name of the bucket, and then for the action, so this says get object. That means you will be able to get the read permissions for your bucket. This is the list bucket. This is going to show all the buckets available to you, and then this is the put object. That means that you are actually specifying that I need write permissions for this particular bucket in this role. Okay, so you will just have to make sure that you will assign and create this role properly. So I will go back. So this is how your IAM role page should look like. You should also make a note of what name you're giving so that you can know for what purpose you created the roles. Okay, so this is going to be the SageMaker access role. Okay, so as of now, everything looks good. First of all, you have to create the S3 bucket, as I mentioned, and then you have to upload the job lib file that you have created locally. The second step will be to create the IAM role like this, and then you'll have to make sure you add all the necessary permissions and necessary policies within your role. So now the next step is going to be to create the SageMaker notebooks, and that is where we will perform all of our deployment steps. Okay, sorry, I clicked the wrong link, I guess. The link has been recently changed by AWS. So when you do SageMaker, so you have to go to SageMaker AI. Okay. So once you have done that, now you have to go to notebooks, and then you have to create a new notebook here. So I have created the gold price notebook. Okay, so when you will be prompted to create the notebook, it is just going to ask which role you want to assign. So when it asks to assign you any role, or to I think to link any role with the notebook, you just have to link that AWS role that we just created, and then you have to do the instance ml.t2.medium. You can do whatever instance you want, but this is very cost effective, and as we are using it for learning purposes, I will recommend you to use this ml.t2.medium. Okay, so I have already created it. So and then you have to click on, once you have created your notebook, it is very simple. You just have to link your role, and then you have to link your bucket if they ask for it, and that's it. Okay, so and then you have to click open Jupyter Lab. Okay, so it will take some time to load here. So I have already done the deployment, because if I'll do it in the video, it's going to take much longer, because generally when you create an endpoint and when you do the deployment step, it usually takes around 15 to 20 minutes. Again, it depends on the size of your model. It depends on the nature of your data as well. But that's why I have already deployed the model, and I'm just going to go over all the steps needed in order. Okay, so the next step you have to do is you have to create the inference.py inside the notebook. I have already done that. Okay, so inside the inference.py, you just have to define the functions here. So this function is to load the model. So this function is going to load the model model.joblib that we have uploaded on the S3 bucket. And then this is the input function, because we need to have the JSON. We need to assign a JSON input so that we can create an endpoint. And then once we give the JSON input, it's going to give the prediction in the form of predicted gold price. Okay, and then the next step is going to be prediction function. So this is simple again. This is going to do the prediction using prediction is equals to model.predict. And then this is going to be the output function, which will simply return the output for the JSON input that we have given to the model, and that's it. So this is how your inference.py should look like. So this template for the inference.py is pretty common. So it doesn't matter what your model is, you can always use this template, and you can make some minor tweaks according to your model if required. But I have found that this particular format and this particular template for inference.py has worked for the straightforward models, for the easy models, like for the smaller scale models. Okay, and then you have to go and create the notebook. Here's the main part. Okay, so listen, so when you do this, so you have to import all of these libraries here: Boto3, SageMaker, sklearn, Jarfile, and OS. Okay, so first of all, this line of code is going to create the directory here, model directory, as you can see here at the left side. This line of code will do that, and then it will copy the model file to the model directory. So remember, we have to upload the .joblib file in S3 bucket. So this line is going to grab that .joblib file from the S3 bucket, and it will put it in our model directory. Okay. It's pretty straightforward till here. And then it will create a tarball of the model directory. So this is the tarball of the model directory, and will and all these files, inference.py and these tarballs, are going to be uploaded to the S3 bucket. Remember when I showed you my S3 bucket, these inference.py and .tar files were already uploaded, right? So this step is very crucial for that. So when you execute this line of code, it is going to upload the tar file, the tarball of the model, and then it will also upload the inference.py to that particular S3 bucket. Okay, pretty straightforward. So using this script, you will be able to upload the tarball, and you will be able to upload the inference.py to S3 bucket, and it will also create the model directory here where your model will be stored inside. Okay, so and that is kind of it. We are almost there. The next step you have to do, you just have to create an endpoint. Okay, so role is equals to SageMaker.get execution role. So it will get the role with necessary permissions. So when you will be creating this notebook, as I said, you will have to link this IAM role, right? So this is going to go and get that particular role with all the necessary permissions. And then it is going to create an object, simple here. Model data is equals to data, role is equals to role, entry point is going to be inference.py, framework version is equals to 1.2.1, Py version is equals to Py3. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. It is going to go and create the endpoints for our model. But here, one more thing I will need to focus on here is this version number. So for example, this thing happened with me as well. When I trained my model locally on Jupyter Notebook, the sklearn version that was used inside that notebook was 1.6.1. But unfortunately, 1.6.1 is not available within AWS SageMaker. So if your versions of sklearn is contradicting, and if those versions are not available in AWS SageMaker, that deployment scripts are not going to work, because it will always give error, and it will always conflict, but it will always create a conflict between those two versions. So while you deploy the model, just make sure that with whatever version you are training your model locally, just make sure that that version is available within AWS SageMaker. Okay, so you just need to keep a note for that as well. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. With the help of this script, you can create the endpoint. And if you want to see the logs here, so you can just go inside CloudWatch. Okay, so when you go to the CloudWatch, because when you generally create the endpoint, it's going to take some time. So if you want to see how it is going, if is it throwing any errors or anything like that, so go to logs, log groups, and then this was the name of our endpoint. Click here, and this is going to show all the logs of our deployment script when we created the endpoint. So as you can see here, everything looks fine, but when you'll have any problem, it is going to flag it in red, or if not in red, it will just specify that, okay, you have this error going on within your model. So I would say whenever you see this error in your log file, it is best to just stop the deployment script, because deployment script is always going to be running for few minutes, like 10-15 minutes. But if you just keep an eye on log events while it is running, you will be able to save some time, because if you catch some error, you will immediately stop the deployment script, and then you can start troubleshooting whatever error you're getting. Okay. So yeah, that was everything. So let me go back to my notebook again. So if I go back to my notebook, so now the endpoint has been created. Okay, so now we just have to give our input data. So this is the test data. So in our gold prediction model, they are giving these inputs: open, high, low, volume, change percent, and then we are converting it to JSON, and then we are making a prediction using the endpoint that we have created. So as you can see here, it is giving me the prediction result 1684 for this particular value, for this particular input data. So that means your model now is successfully deployed on AWS SageMaker. You can also create a UI with the help of this endpoint, with the help of React or any front end technology. It is going to be pretty straightforward. But this is the basic idea of how you can deploy it using AWS SageMaker. So if I open the endpoints that we have, so I will go again in SageMaker AI. It always takes some time to load, right? And then I'll go to inference here, and then I'll go to endpoints. Okay, so these are all the when you see the failed ones, these are all the endpoints that didn't work. As I said, I had the problems earlier with the version levels because the training version of my model was different, and that version was not really supported inside SageMaker. So I had to retrain my model using that particular version. So this is the deployment. So this is the deployed endpoint that we have just created. So if you go inside, it is going to show all the metrics that you need to that you need to see, and that means now the model has been perfectly deployed. Okay, so that was everything. These are the deployment steps. So let me revise those steps again if you want to have a clear idea. So first step you'll do, you'll save the trained model. The second step you'll do, you have to create the S3 bucket with the available gateway that you have. The third step you're going to do, you have to create the IAM role using the AWS, so that you can have all the necessary permissions for SageMaker, and you will also have to create one modified and customized permission so that you can write into your S3 bucket. And then once you're done all of that, you will have to create the inference.py inside SageMaker, and then you'll have to create the endpoints, and you have to write the deployment script as I mentioned and as I showed here. Okay, so this was pretty straightforward. So when you use SageMaker, it really automates lots of the other steps as well. For example, you do not have to use Docker when you deploy the model using SageMaker. One more thing I would like to mention here: if you are kind of playing around with SageMaker, just keep that one thing in mind, that SageMaker notebooks is only free for first 250 hours. So if you will exceed above 250 hours, it will start charging you. So I would recommend you, if you do not want to spend any money and if you just want to do it for learning purposes, just create the SageMaker notebook, play around with that, get familiar with all the steps, and then just immediately delete that notebook so that you do not get charged and you will not lose your money. Okay, so this was everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching.